subject, and I can imagine our viewers right now, I'm going to be very honest, watching us are saying, what is Dobbs doing talking to Hitchens? What is Hitchens thinking about taking on God?
Well, you're right, there's no bigger subject. That doesn't elevate me, of course, but it's an inescapable one. Religion ends and philosophy begins, just as alchemy ends and chemistry begins, and astrology ends and astronomy begins. I think you would be surprised in turn, actually, to find out how many people don't believe and are annoyed by religious bullying and theocratic bullying and intimidation, not just in this country but around the world, everywhere from Iraq to Afghanistan to Somalia, to the settlers on the West Bank, to the people who want to teach nonsense to our children in schools. The evidence is, when Americans are spoken to seriously about this, that they're not completely credulous. They don't take everything on faith.
And not taking things on faith, it's stunning as we look at the number of issues which you point out in the book and which you write brilliantly about, whether we're looking at the Middle East, whether we're looking at within this country, what is, it seems to me, a resurgence of religion and an empowerment for religious leaders to drive politics and certainly to attempt to drive policy.
Worse than that, I mean, we are looking at a theocratic dictatorship in Iran, for example, that A, believes that the 12th Imam, their version of the Messiah, is about to come back and redeem the whole world, and B, thinks, as an insurance, they should have a nuclear weapon. It's as if the Inquisition had a thermonuclear capacity. It's a very serious thing. No one can be neutral about it. The settlers in Israel hope to create chaos and Armageddon and bring on their own Messiah. There are people in America who think that would be a great idea. We could use taxpayers' money to help them. There are people in Denmark, a tiny democratic Scandinavian country, who are afraid to publish a cartoon. There wasn't a single American paper that was brave enough to print the cartoons in solidarity with
Christopher
them.
Hitchens writes in his book and points out, it came back to me with some embarrassment, I have to tell you. Media, national media in this country, talking about the Danish cartoon controversy, in which all sorts of threats are being made, and the national media in this country afraid to put forward those cartoons for fear of offending someone.
In a completely pictorial culture. I actually was on this network where I was debating with a Muslim spokesman, and the CNN put the page from the Danish press up, but they pixelated the cartoons so you couldn't see them. And I said, look, you've done that out of fear, haven't you? The lady interviewer said yes. And I said to the Muslim spokesman, is that the relationship you want with the media? To get yourself on this show by trying to frighten people? Because if so, this idea that faith is better than no faith will need to be revised, won't it? And a little magazine I write for, Skeptic magazine, did print the cartoons, and one of the main book chains ripped our magazine from the magazine racks of all the bookstores in the country.
It is a disturbing time in many respects, whether one looks at the warnings of Orwell or whether one looks at just the present squarely in the face. The efforts from so many quarters to constrain thought, independence, individuality, originality.
And we have so much a better tradition. For example, the Founding Fathers wrote into our Constitution the First Amendment based on Mr. Jefferson's statute from Virginia, separating the church from the state. It's the only constitution in the world that's ever done that. We have Mr. Jefferson, Mr. Thomas Paine, we have Spinoza, we have Albert Einstein. We have a wonderful tradition of philosophy and science and the beauty of reason to set against these prophets and these ranters, and we still have the assumption that to say someone is a person of faith, i.e. they'll believe anything without evidence, is a good thing.
I want to put up, if we may, for our viewers to look, just in case anyone who knows the work of Christopher Hitchens knows he does not play at the margin intellectually. And he, when he goes after the subject of God, he's direct and comprehensive. But let's put up the Jesus, a virgin birth, and Christopher Hitchens in the book God is Not Great puts it in historical context. These are the figures, gods, deities, and revered figures who have virgin births in one form or another throughout history. You say that what's new about Jesus?
Can they see the list?
They can. It's right here.
I'm
sorry.
Well, then, they're looking at that. I mean, I think I mentioned that Buddha is born through a slit in his mother's side. There's something to me creepy as someone who quite liked his mother and is very grateful for her efforts,
Right.
in a religion that so hates the idea of the female birth canal, seems to think of it as something filthy, rather as people go for genital mutilation, not just of little girls, but also of little boys. As if, but they say God's plan is perfect and he designed us wonderfully, except now we just want to hack away at your genitals to improve the picture. What exactly is this, and why are we so deferential to it?
You refer to the birth canal as, in those instances, some with a preference for a one-way street, I believe, as you put it.
Well, yes, I do say that. I know this is a family show.
It is indeed, and it's a family world. The idea that you also call for a new enlightenment is also critically important as you conclude the book. Christopher Hitchens is, I just got to tell you, buy the book. This is a brilliant book, a brilliant read. God is not great. Christopher Hitchens asked me to put his lapel pin on. Christopher Hitchens is now, congratulations, and with gratitude, thank you for being an American citizen, and I'll be delighted to put this lapel pin on, and if you would wish. And let me move over here very quickly.
I've wanted to say this for a long time. I don't know if I'm looking in the right camera. My fellow Americans.
I love it.
I did it on Jefferson's birthday, which is also mine. I'm his biographer, at the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C., and in the name of the First Amendment to the Constitution and the Wall of Separation. Mr. Jefferson, build up that wall.
And Mr. Hitchens, we thank you very much.
Mr.
Again,
Dobbs,
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Coming up next.